right now at the St. Louis Chess Club and World Chess Hall of Fame is the U.S. Junior Championship, U.S. Girls Junior Championship, and U.S. Senior Championship. And I say at the World Chess Hall of Fame because the St. Louis Chess Club, which is in the background here, is undergoing renovation. So therefore the tournament is across the street on the third floor of the World Chess Hall of Fame, the three championships. Well, I was interested in writing an 8th book. I have 7 previous books. And I was discussing with my son, William Root, about what might be a good topic for my next book, and he suggested U.S. Women's Chess Champion, since I was the 1989 U.S. Women's Chess Champion and I played in 10 different U.S. Women's Chess Championships. I thought this was a good suggestion, that I had a pretty good knowledge of certainly the 10 times I played in it, and since I was a history major when I was an undergraduate, I felt confident I could research the other years and it would be a good book. That's right, McFarland published U.S. Chess Championships by Andy Soltis. It's actually in its 3rd edition, but there wasn't a corresponding book about the U.S. Women's Chess Championships, and now my book is also with McFarland, so it kind of makes a nice companion for Andy Soltis's book. We're really spoiled these days with the St. Louis Chess Club putting on such a magnificent U.S. Women's Championship every year and broadcasting the games, and of course that means the games are recorded for posterity because they're on DGT boards and we have records of them. That wasn't the case, years ago. People were using paper score sheets. It wasn't necessarily reported on that much in chess magazines, and so for some of the early championships it was really a struggle to meet my goal, which was to find one win by that year's champion in the tournament. Now I could find wins by that champion in some other tournament, but I wanted to get a win by her in the year that she won her U.S. Women's Chess Championship, and that was a challenging part in some cases. According to Montgomery Major, who was editor of Chess Life in the 1950s, he wrote that the majority of chess clubs in the United States as of 1950 did not welcome women members. So that's kind of a shocking thing to think about these days, when we assume clubs are open to men, women, all people. But apparently that wasn't the case in 1950. But the Marshall Chess Club had a history of welcoming women, and even started some women's chess tournaments. There was a need to have a qualifier from the U.S. represent in the Women's World Chess Championship, and so that was sort of an impetus, along with when the National Chess Federation and American Chess Federation merged and became the U.S. Chess Federation. Those things all coming together led to those Marshall tournaments being considered national championships. So the St. Louis Chess Club started hosting the U.S. Women's Championships along with many other tournaments such as the U.S. Championships in 2009, and has been holding them here ever since. So that's a lot of years now, 14 years of U.S. Women's Chess Championships. It really took the pressure off U.S. Chess Federation, which previously had to find people to bid on the U.S. Women's Chess Championship, and now St. Louis Chess Club's providing the venue, providing the prize fund and the housing and everything else, so that frees up U.S. chess resources to go to other causes. Gisela Gresser and Mona May Karf, certainly they were much like Irina Krush and Anna Zatonska in the modern era, who kind of took turns winning the U.S. Women's. That's how it was for Gresser and Karf, is they somewhat alternated winning those titles. Gresser actually is the one who's won the most U.S. Women's Chess Championship titles. She won 9 times. And in the modern era, Irina Krush has already won the U.S. Women's Championship 8 times. So, and she's still active. So there's a possibility she will get to 9 titles or maybe even 10 titles. Yeah, so Diane Sawyer, I did have the privilege to meet and compete with. I really looked up to her. She was a 5-time U.S. Women's Chess Champion. She really studied chess and took it very seriously. Ultimately, she really couldn't make a living at it, so she became a computer programmer. And I think that's perhaps a difference from the 1970s U.S. women's situation until today, because today, thanks to the generous prize funds that the St. Louis Chess Club provides, women can make a career out of chess in the U.S. And speaking of that, here's Rex Sinkerfeld walking by. And what I was saying to him is, I've been lucky enough, he's been sitting outside at the Kingside Diner, which is actually right next to us. So the Kingside Diner, I think his usual tradition is to kind of sit there and watch all the players arrive, but I believe it's closed today, so probably he has to just go in and observe directly. But so as I walked by the table each day, I would say hello and tell him what things I've been seeing in St. Louis. And he recommended the Cathedral Basilica. Oh. So my husband, International Master Doug Root, who's competing in the U.S. Senior right now, and I went to the Cathedral Basilica this morning, and it is beautiful. So really, this location in the Central West End is amazing. I don't know, you're a Missourian, so you're probably more familiar with St. Louis than I am, but I've been very impressed with everything the city has to offer. So I, as I mentioned, played in 10 different U.S. Women's Chess Championships. The first one I played in 1981, I was 15 years old, about to turn 16. So along with another 15-year-old, Baraka Shabazz, we were the 2 youngest in the tournament. But I didn't actually win the tournament until my 4th time in it, which was 1989, and I won undefeated with 7 points out of 9 rounds. And I mean, it was a big moment for me to be the U.S. Women's Chess Champion. I would say it's opened up a lot of opportunities for me, just because when you have a title like that, I think even beyond my peak rating, which was 2260 U.S. Chess Federation, which is master, and that's quite a good rating. It's like top 1 or 1.5% of U.S. chess players. So I had a good rating, but I think having the title is just an additional honor that helps you get noticed and helps your writing get noticed and all that. So it's been great. The last round, I watched what was going on in the other games and realized that because of the way those other games were going, I could offer a draw and secure the championship, which I did do, even though I probably had a pretty big edge in the position. And it's interesting how different champions approach it, because Jennifer Yu had, when in her initial U.S. Women's Championship win, she had wrapped up the tournament. Going into the last round, she'd already wrapped it up. And she could have just made a draw, but she went ahead and won it and got like a phenomenal score. I guess she has better nerves than I do because I was like, you know, I could mess this up and lose possibly, even though it's a good position. I think I'll just offer the draw and have my U.S. Women's title rather than pushing it for the win. In the year I played when I was 15, we were the 2 youngest at 15, but earlier in the history of the U.S. Women's, Rachel Corrado competed when she was 13. So certainly there have been girls competing in it. I think now we have so many strong girls. An example is International Master-elect Alice Lee, who here in St. Louis has just won the U.S. Girls Junior Championship, which gives her a place in the U.S. Women's, but she could have gotten in by rating anyway. But the point is, she's 13, so she'll be a young player in the U.S. Women's Championship, and I believe there'll be other young players in it as well. Yeah, so Irina, when she competed at age 11, that I believe was the youngest to compete in the U.S. Women's when she first competed in it at age 11, and I played her that year. She has a December birthday, so it was my last year and her first year, so that was 1995. And so she was 11 and she wasn't going to be 12 until December of that year, but it was a summer tournament. So at 11 years old, she was a very young competitor, and like I'll repeat, yes, I drew her. That's the only time I ever played her, but of course she was only 11, but I'm still proud of it that I managed to draw. And then she ended up winning it when she was 14. So, and that was in 1998, because she would have been, again, with her December birthday, she was 14, and she wouldn't have turned 15 till December, and the tournament's traditionally held in the summer. So, although this year it'll be here in St. Louis in October. But back in the day, it used to be in the summer. She was the youngest to play in it at 11 years old, and then the youngest to win it at 14. But now, as you see, Alice Lee is quite a strong player, and she's going to be a 13-year-old playing in it. So maybe, depending on how Alice does in the U.S. Women's Chess Championship, we could break that record and have a new youngest winner of the tournament. So she actually won 2 U.S. Women's Championships. She's a 2-time champion in 2002 and 2004. And she's, after retiring essentially from competitive chess, she became a commentator here for the St. Louis Chess Club and commentated on a lot of events. And she also was the founding editor of Chess Life Online, which is part of the U.S. Chess Federation. It's their, there's the print magazine Chess Life, but now since Jennifer started it, there's also Chess Life Online, which kind of has daily online news and reports. And then more recently, she's the women's program director for U.S. Chess Federation. And there's a number of initiatives that she has either started or overseen as women's program director. Yeah, I was saying that Jennifer Yu is a student at Harvard University. So I would think that being such a demanding university, it might take time away from her chess. But, that's okay. We also need people to go into many other fields besides chess professional. It is amazing how talented chess players are, that for example, in the U.S. Senior this year, U.S. Senior Championship, 8 of the players have their careers in chess, in the sense of they're coaches, they're writers, they're players, but their career is based around chess. But 2 of the players in that championship, their careers are nothing to do with chess, and yet we're able to compete at this level. So that's kind of impressive. Anna Zatonska, as I mentioned, she and Irina Krush, actually, this works out well. There's Anna, her back's to the camera, and there's Irina. So this is from one of their many clashes at the U.S. Women's Chess Championships. So Anna Zatonska recently, right here in St. Louis at the Cairns Cup, got her first ever Grandmaster norm at age 44, which is the oldest man or woman to get a Grandmaster norm, oldest American to get a Grandmaster norm. So that's really exciting for her, kind of revitalize her chess playing career. I mean, obviously 1937 to 2020 is a long period of time. And we've already mentioned one of the big changes, which was we had so many very strong players immigrate in the 1980s, and that really changed the face of U.S. chess, both in the overall championship and in the U.S. Women's Championship. So the strength of the tournament, the average rating of the participants took a jump higher in the 1980s. And now it's really another initiative that has made a difference, which I mention in my book, is university scholarships, full ride scholarships for chess. 2 recent U.S. Women's Chess Champions, Sabina Foiser and Nazi Pakitsky, both came to the U.S. on full ride college chess scholarships, and then after their years playing on university chess teams, they stayed and became U.S. women's chess champions. So just like the Glasnost immigration in the 1980s, we're now getting strong women players coming over from these college chess scholarships. But we also now have a really strong group of homegrown chess talents. I've already mentioned International Master-elect Alexey from Minnesota. So, you know, it's really a time where the average rating of the U.S. Women's Chess Championship is going to be in the 2300s, which is quite strong. It'll probably just keep going upward.